Hello, everyone. So in this video, we're going to talk about how to quarantine when you arrive in Canada. So it's a few things that we'll go over, but it's not as complicated as you will think. So first of all, a statement from us. Inlingua Victoria is committed to operating in a way that prioritizes the health and safety of students, staff, host families, and communities, and adheres to the reopening regulations and guidelines of the Government of Canada, provincial and local health authorities. Okay, with that out of the way, let's get into it. So, arrangements for arrival and quarantine. So we're going to start off talking about what you should do. So first, when you apply to study at inlingua Victoria, and we give you a start date and everything, we're going to figure out where you're going to stay when you do arrive in Canada. So we will make arrangements for students to quarantine at a designated quarantine site within Vancouver, BC or Victoria, BC. So that means when you arrive in Canada, you will be put into a hotel or a host family that's willing to accommodate your quarantine. And we do have several hotels, which we'll look at a bit later, that can help you out if you do choose that. So what should you bring with you on your trip? So first, you should bring a 3-week supply of surgical masks. So that's about 60 masks. And these masks will be used if you are interacting with anyone, also when you're passing through the airport and through customs, and on your trip to your quarantine stay, and during your check-in at the hotel, as well as when you have to interact with any people at the hotel, you should be wearing a mask during your quarantine. You should also bring a large bottle of quality hand sanitizer, which is about 70 to 90% alcohol, 1 box of rubber gloves. So these gloves you can wear on the airplane so that you're not touching any dirty surfaces. Also, when you're in the hotel, just so you're not touching any, like doorknobs that are being used over and over. You should also bring a thermometer. So when you're quarantining, you can take your temperature if you do feel like you have a fever. Also, any medications that you do take, you should bring at least a 21-day supply of those medications or more, just so that you don't run out during your quarantine, because you will not be able to leave the hotel during that time. You should also bring personal hygiene supplies, for example, feminine hygiene products, toothpaste, or deodorant, and you should have at least a 14-day supply. So while you're in your hotel room, you can't go out shopping. So you need to bring that stuff to help you through that time. You don't want to run out during your quarantine. So next, when you travel, you should wear a mask and gloves the whole time. You should probably change your mask every 6 hours, and you should change your gloves frequently as well. And you should also wash your hands frequently. So what that means is if you touch a surface and you want to touch your face after, you should wash your hands before you touch your face. Next, use hand sanitizer if you can't wash your hands. So washing hands is the most important, and hand sanitizer will come after that. Next, you should practice physical distancing. So that means when you're in the airport or on the airplane or in the hotel, you should try your best to keep at least 2 meters distance from other people. If you can't keep that distance, you should always be wearing a mask. Next, you should sanitize your space on the airplane. So before you're going to sit down in your chair on the airplane, make sure you just wipe down the airplane seat and the tray and everything like that to make sure that it's clean. Sometimes the airplanes don't actually disinfect the seats, so you should do that as well. You should also keep your cell phone charged. So bringing your cell phone with you and keeping it charged is going to be important, because when you arrive in Canada, you may need to call your transportation. If you don't have batteries on your cell phone and you can't call your transportation, you're going to feel a lot of stress. So please make sure that your cell phone is charged the whole time. Next, monitor your health for symptoms of COVID-19 throughout your trip. If you start feeling any symptoms while you're traveling, you should try to contact inlingua Victoria as soon as possible. And we're going to work with you to alert your family, accommodation provider, and others if there's any delays in your travel plans to Canada. So we're going to help you out with that. You don't need to worry. If you do feel symptoms, please let us know and we will do our best to help you. So when you arrive, when you pass through the Canadian customs, you will be required to acknowledge that you must quarantine for 14 days and will be required to present your printed self-isolation plan to the CBSA agent. You will meet your pre-arranged safe transportation in a pre-arranged pickup area. That safe transportation will be provided by the quarantine hotel or other quarantine or transportation provider. So that means if you do come to Victoria and you are staying with a host family and the host family wants to allow you to quarantine in their house, they will pick you up at the airport. But you should pre-arrange that transportation before you arrive in Canada. You'll be transported immediately without stops to your quarantine location. During your check-in, you must wear a mask and gloves and respect hygiene and physical distancing guidelines. The quarantine provider will contact inlingua Victoria to confirm that you have arrived. And you must contact your admissions coordinator as well to confirm your pickup. During your quarantine, an inlingua staff member will contact you to provide a wellness check. They will ask you about your trip and how you're feeling at the time. Inlingua Victoria will also contact you every day to ask you how you are feeling. Here are some questions that we will ask you. How do you feel today? Did you talk to anyone or come into contact with anyone today? Is anyone in your home sick? How would you describe your room today? Do you know what online activities we have this week? In one word, describe your feeling today. If you can have one thing to make your self-isolation or quarantine better, what would it be? And also, we will ask you if you have any questions for us. Okay, next, during your quarantine. During the quarantine, you can take part in productive activities at inlingua Victoria. We will provide optional live virtual courses for you to take part in. You can meet your classmates and your teacher from your hotel room. You can even participate in the class through Zoom sessions. If you feel any symptoms during your quarantine, please remember to contact inlingua Victoria immediately and we will help you. Other than that, please wait patiently and enjoy the luxury of your hotel. After quarantine. So after your 14-day quarantine, you may leave your hotel and travel to Victoria or travel to the school where you will meet your host family. You may join your regular classes on the following Monday intake session, and your life will go back to normal. So we hope that that was informative for you, and we hope that you have a happy and safe journey. Next, we're going to look at a list of approved quarantine hotels. So we have about 5 hotels that we can provide you to help with your quarantine. Most of them are in Vancouver, but we have 1 or 2 in Victoria as well. The Richmond Conference Center, which has 3 hotels on 1 property, the Hilton, Vancouver Airport Hotel and Marriott Vancouver Airport and Sheraton Vancouver Airport Hotel. So those are very close to the hotel and will be a good option for you to quarantine. Next, the Executive Hotel in Vancouver, in Richmond. So finally, there's another one in Victoria. These are some of the links that we have to the content. The links will be put down below in the video, and you can follow them to find out more. But let's take a look. So this is inlingua Victoria's quarantine plan. This is the same as I was telling you, but it goes into much more detail. Next, we have, this is the COVID-19 travel restrictions, exemptions, and advice. So this is very detailed, and we're going to talk a little bit about this in our next video so that it makes sense to you. Here's the COVID Alert app. The COVID Alert app is used for contact tracing and to make sure that you haven't come into contact with anyone who has tested positive for the virus. And here we have health fee for international students. Please read over these documents and make sure you understand them. And that's the end of our presentation. Thanks for watching, and please let us know if you have any other questions. See you in the next video.